you all so much for bearing with us. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. Hopefully Colin's feed will sort itself out, but in the meantime, perhaps our students can introduce themselves to us. So I'm going to go around the screen as I can see everybody. So Sorabia, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, tell us about the type of writing that you like to do?
Yep. Hi guys, my name's Zobia, and I write creative non-fiction about my experience as a British Pakistani living in the UK. I've also been experimenting with a little bit of lyrical prose and poetry recently. And yeah, I'm going to pass it to Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm from Stoke-on-Trent in England. I write predominantly poetry, but in the course of this program, I've been increasingly experimenting with short prose, short stories, and things of that nature. Over to Cassie.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie McCarthy. I am originally from Rhode Island in the US. I came to this program as a long-form prose writer, mostly in horror and speculative fiction. But similar to Sylvia and Dan, I've also kind of started experimenting more with forms of narrative nonfiction and poetry through coursework that we've been doing here. And I'll pass it over to Ipshita. If she can hear us, maybe.
Oh, I hope so.
Hi. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a technical issue also. I couldn't really hear anyone. But hi, I'm Ipshita. Nice to meet you all. I love writing poetry, and I love writing creative nonfiction. I've been experimenting a lot with the form of the short story. That's what I've been submitting in workshops, actually. And the workshops have been really helpful. People who are fellow writers, they give lovely feedback, and it's just really helpful to see how other people are viewing your writing and change it according to that. And yeah, I've been exploring with many different genres, romance, horror. I hate horror, but I'm still exploring with it because that's what you're supposed to do right here. And yeah, I'm from India. I love writing about my experiences here as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much. So I think the best place to start is to go all the way back to the beginning when you all started your degrees earlier this year. And I wondered if you can all tell me what it was that made you want to come and do the program here at Glasgow. And I think I might mix things up if that's a little bit. So if I can go to Cassie first.
Sure. Yeah, my journey here is a little perhaps unconventional. So I actually left the workforce. I've been working in finance for the past kind of 10 years. So it's been a while since I was in the school environment. And when I was thinking about doing this, you know, for me, it was very important that I started to kind of find a place where I could not just kind of focus on writing and the writing projects, but also interact with folks from different cohorts and different backgrounds, and kind of see more about the industry, you know, of writing, as we say as well. So when I made the choice to kind of look and apply to Glasgow, I saw one of the courses, which Colin actually kind of teaches as well, was dedicated to editing and publication. And that was unlike many of the other programs that I was looking at. I was looking at a couple different places around the UK. And that course really stood out in the sense that it was not only giving us, you know, here on this MLitt, dedicated time to work on our own writing and craft and kind of experiment there, but also, again, giving us that exposure to, you know, learning what agents do, meeting editors, hearing about different styles of publication and things that are maybe not as traditional as those of us who think of it as just kind of bookstores and what we can find there. So that was a big draw for me and kind of the big piece behind my decision to come here.
That's great. Thanks so much, Cassie. And we're joined again by Colin. So I'm going to pass back over to Colin. So yeah, thank you all so much.
Yeah, so I'm Colin Herd, and yeah, I'm co-convenor of the program, as I mentioned. The program, there are sort of three main components of the program, and one of them is the creative writing workshops. The other is the craft and experimentation course, where there's a list which changes every year and where you're being asked to respond to yeah, the full breadth of kind of experimental literature that's out there, and literature in different forms, And then the third part of the course is editing, which is a course about the business of writing, the side of writing that concerns kind of getting your work out there, finding agents, finding publishers, but that also thinks about the broader spectrum of places where really exciting creative writing might meet the world. We had a really exciting festival earlier on in the year, which was to celebrate 30 years of creative writing being taught at Glasgow University. And one of the things that really brought back to me is just how our students and our graduates and our alumni go off and find places to share their work publicly really successfully in all sorts of different approaches, such as digital writing, traditional publishing, theatre, performance, and visual arts as well. So that's a kind of overview of the program. I thought now we could maybe start to move on to some of the questions. Can you hear me okay, just to check?
Yeah, we can hear you, Colin.
I think
okay.
A good question that's
so
come through. Oh, sorry. Do you want to? Okay. A good question that's come through. I'm sure we'll take in turn and start getting through some of these questions. So we'll get around to them. But a good question that's come through is about how many hours a week that we would spend on the master's degree, which is annoyingly a slightly subjective answer, because people will put different amounts of time and energy towards this degree. But speaking as someone that does it full time and also does like 10 hours of online part-time work in addition to that, and I'm aware of other people that also kind of juggle other commitments as well as doing this course full time, that is a viable option for someone that is good at managing their time. I believe the official advice is that it's roughly around the kind of full-time job that this course would take. So I would like set aside, even if you're not someone that does a kind of 9 to 5 in a structured way like that, having that as a kind of goalpost in your mind is perhaps useful. I'm not sure if anyone else has anything to jump on that point.
Can I chip in as someone who so Dan is someone who's like very structured and I feel like he's really good at managing his time and like just like all of his workload. I'm the sort of person who like just for anyone else that like part of their creative process is just kind of being crazy. Like I feel like I'm working all the time, like in a way, but in a really nice way, because like part of the course is like you have creative conversations where you have like a speaker come in every week, and like you have an author or a poet come in and they talk about their work, and like we have a conversation afterwards, like and those often go in so many different directions, and that leads to a lot of different creative inspiration. And I think like the reason why I love Glasgow is because there is so much going on, and because the city itself is so vibrant. Like I'm constantly getting inspirational, like I'm thinking about things and having ideas. So I mean, it's like I work all the time, but it's really enjoyable. And like just this year being here at Glasgow, it's like an opportunity to just it's such a privilege to be able to just like lean into like your kind of writer self and like do everything you want to do as a writer and like just like live your life as a writer, if you know what I mean. I think the course gives, because of the assessments and because of the workshop where you submit work, having the deadlines helps because it gives you a reason to write and it gives you like something to work towards. And like over time, like over like the past 2 semesters, I've built up like a steady amount of creative work just because I've had the assignments to hold me accountable.
I would agree with that. I'm not exactly somebody who's structured all the time, and I don't exactly have a timetable of sorts, but I have found that just reading all the books that I have to for my course and producing creative work, that has put me in a kind of routine for writing, and also being surrounded by writers. You just get inspired by something somebody says or a presentation that somebody does in class. we have 3 courses, 3 modules per semester. So last semester we had 3, and this semester also we have 3 that we are doing. And then after the semester gets over, we have to work on our dissertation. That's another thing. I'm writing a novel for my dissertation because it's just going to force me to sit down and actually write it, because otherwise it's just difficult to find structure like that in your regular life. But yeah, so again, it's very subjective how many hours you want to spend on your coursework, but there you pretty much have to read a book once a week for this course called Craft and Experimentation. And there's also of the personal that I'm taking now. For that also you have to read a book once a week. So it's really one book once a week, and there are readings for other modules too, but it's not too heavy. It's not so heavy that it's going to make you have your nose in a book all the time or anything like that. And you can also have a part-time job on the side. I did have one for a while. Through November and December, I was working as well as doing coursework. So it's pretty balanced, I'd say, the workload. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I'll just chip in on that one a little bit as well, which is just to say that in terms of actual class teaching hours, it's for a full-time load, it's 6 hours per week. And for a part-time load, it's 3 hours. It works out at 3 hours on average per week of lessons. But as the others have so brilliantly articulated, there are lots of other things going on as well, like creative conversations and other visiting speakers and kind of expert workshops that go on as well. I'll just rattle through a couple of kind of easy to answer questions. So there's one from Lynn, which is this one of the forums for classes? And no, it's not. So in-person classes are obviously in person on campus, distance learning through Zoom or Teams, but they're not done on this platform. And are workshops a different structure to typical lessons, or are they incorporated in the lesson structure? That's a really great question. So we have the way that we run creative writing workshops is that they're primarily oriented around peer feedback. So each week there are 2 students or 2 or 3 students submitting work to the workshop, which then the rest of the group have read in advance and give feedback on in the class, and then follow up with annotated feedback as well. And then we also sort of consider the craft and experimentation classes as kind of hybrid seminar workshops. So often they involve discussing the text like you would in a kind of literature seminar for the first half. So I say like you would in a literature seminar, but always with the viewpoint of thinking them through mechanically and kind of technically as a writer. And then in the second half of the session, there's usually either some writing exercises or workshopping of work that's been done in advance of the sessions. And I'll just do one more that's kind of easy for me to answer as well, which is drama also taught on this program? And yes, so it's not, I tend to set a play on my craft and experimentation reading lists, but I would say our program is not geared towards drama specifically. So if writing for theatre is something that is your kind of core interest and you're not really interested in other forms of writing, then potentially it might be worth looking into other programs. The University of Glasgow actually has a dramaturgy program within theatre studies that might be one that you could look at. However, people have done this program, read a lot of fiction, read a lot of poetry, thought about fiction and poetry, but basically written drama, and that's totally okay. And we've had people do some really amazing work in for stage, for radio, for screen as well. And some of our graduates have had great success in those places too. This next question I thought would be an interesting one to get the student perspective on. So does anyone have a thought about this question to do with contemporary realism and craft rigor and room in the program for projects that don't necessarily sit within contemporary trends of realism?
I would say that within my own practice and like what I'm drawn to in writing, I find that my own style often draws on the archaic, often has like is coming from a point of view of the history of literature, and it's perhaps not. I wouldn't consider myself like trying to chase contemporary trends in any way, and I feel that's definitely something that's been like enabled and celebrated as part of the course. I think that a lot of people appreciate the feedback or point of view that you bring when you are referencing a kind of history of literature or drawing upon like form in a way that isn't necessarily just about like very contemporary trends. So for example of that, I find that a lot of my poetry is inspired by kind of like 18th century poetry, and I find that in the editing and publication course that I'm currently doing, I'm editing an anthology of 18th century poetry, so it's actually not contemporary at all. But the thing that I'm constantly pushing myself towards personally is like, what does this do now, and how can I like use this now? So whilst I'm not considering like being contemporary for the sake of being contemporary, and I do celebrate the kind of archaism that I'm interested in, from a craft perspective, how can you innovate within those traditions? How can you like expand? What are you adding to the conversation? And just being productive with those kind of like historical influences.
Yeah, and maybe to add, Dan, I think like the structure of this program is highly integrated and collaborative. So we're exposed not only to, you know, contemporary kind of books and readings, but also the influences of what is being produced from there. So as Dan kind of mentioned, like we will discuss in craft and experimentation classes the texts that we're reading where there are these kind of downward influences that have come from other places, but we're also interacting with each other's works in very blended ways, right? So the program isn't divided up by folks who are focusing on certain genres or certain styles or forms. We're all very blended together. So in your workshop, you're going to be exposed to a lot of different kind of what that group is writing. And the sizes are quite small. I think that was a question in the chat as well. Workshops are about, I think, around 12 people. Your seminars are about 15. The largest class we have is our editing and publication, which is actually really nice to have kind of more of that full cohort come together. But on the whole, I think coming back to that kind of concept of form and play and not feeling like you're set into something based on trends, I think this course really pushes you to experiment and break down the boundaries of form. I would say that's kind of the biggest thing I've learned so far in my time on the course. Is I thought the literary world was kind of structured by you have prose, you have poetry, you have these genres. And we've really kind of been challenged to think about ways that you can subvert that and invert that and kind of twist that around and make your style truly your own based on what you want to experiment with.
I would like to echo what Cathy said. That is so true. Like I came into the course.
That's really, really fascinating.
So yeah, I came into the course writing really bog standard like short fiction, and like that's all I kind of imagined myself really doing. And like being on this course, like reading Claudia Rankine, Don't Let Me Be Lonely, reading Olga Ragin and The Employees, like crafting experimentation has actually like exploded my mind, and my writing has transformed so much. Like the poets have inspired me to like try poetry, which I was never really into. Like I was afraid of writing before. Like I've been playing with form and like affect theory and how things look on the page, images. Like there's so much scope for like thinking, like broadening your mind and thinking differently. And I think through that, like through craft and experimentation, like this course has enabled me to develop my voice and like find my voice and refine it, which was like one of the things I really wanted to achieve coming in here. Well, like not achieve, but one thing I really wanted to develop coming into the course.
In addition to that, I think in the workshop also a lot of people submit work that varies from the usual contemporary style that you'd be used to. I've read a lot of work that's set in very archaic times, and it also uses very archaic language, and it's just beautiful to read. And the people in the course, the professors, the peers, everybody is quite friendly to that. So it's a pretty good environment for experimenting with that.
Fantastic. Thank you all. That's so interesting to hear, and really, really valuable responses and kind of information, I think. Yeah, you already answered the question about how many students are in a class, but I'll just confirm that it's 15 in a seminar, 12 in a workshop, and then we have the one course where it's like a lecture format because we invite visiting speakers, agents, editors, publishers, and that sort of thing. So that's a bigger one. I think the question that we've just, the discussion that's just taken place kind of answers, Lynn, your question about work that's a sort of crossover between fiction and non-fiction. This is an area that I think Glasgow, is really strong on. We have a lot of people writing hybrid work that blends kind of, the essay with fiction, and it sounds really suitable to your work. Also, thank you for saying that I seemed friendly. I'm conscious in this light, it's more like a kind of gothic atmosphere than a friendly one in this place that I've moved. But yeah, thanks for that. Is the distance? So I'll chip in on this one as well, because all of our amazing students here today are campus students, but we have a thriving distance learning community. We have this year over 20 students on our distance learning program. It's one of the things that I'm often kind of try to kind of talk about with the distance learning students, which is that they, in a way, are like just as close as a cohort as the campus ones are. They're constantly in communication. They meet up. They have a kind of distance learning coffee morning where they meet up and they kind of chat with each other and catch up with each other. And they're absolutely offered the same support. So one of the things that makes distance learning on the MLitt totally unique at Glasgow is that we, all of our classes are live classes. So there is no, there's no sort of like just sending a video, you engaging with that. All of our classes are taught live on Zoom or Teams, and they're as close to a campus experience as possible. One of the questions that I think came in advance as well, which relates to this, was about whether distance learning students are kind of welcome to attend things on campus and whether they have the same access to resources that campus students do. The answer to that is yes, they have full access to the library. Distance learning students are also more than welcome to come to events on campus. Sometimes it's possible for distance learning students to kind of come along to some classes. It's not always possible because obviously if you're in a workshop group, then you need to kind of stay in that workshop group. You can't kind of attend another workshop group, but you can kind of drop into editing and publication and that sort of thing if you're a distance learning student where it's feasible. Really, editing and publication is the only official class that would be possible. But events and special kind of one-off things, you're totally welcome to come onto campus. So yeah. This is a good question, and I don't know if I know the answer to this. Have you got any particular favorite spots to write around campus or around Glasgow?
Oh my God. Okay, so basically I live in the city centre and there's this cafe called Offshore, and like it's just big window. Oh no, sorry, wait, that one's in West End. In West End there's a place called Offshore that has big windows, and also in the city centre there's a cafe called Spitfire which has like these massive windows, and it's like you can write but you can also people watch at the same time, and it's so great. That's like Spitfire is definitely my favourite spot.
Honestly, Glasgow's full of such beautiful cafes. You'll just feel like getting a cup of coffee or hot chocolate and just sitting here and writing away. And on campus, I really like to work in the Gilchrist Postgraduate Club. It's got a really warm atmosphere. There are cookies, there's sandwiches if you want them. There's obviously coffee, hot chocolate, everything. You can get marshmallows if you want, I think. And there's matcha also if you prefer that. Yeah, Spitfire is great. Spitfire is a little cold for my taste, but then there's a library also which has couches if you want to sit on couches and work, and We're surrounded by books. That's like the perfect environment, I think. But yeah, here in the city center, there are so many cafes. If you live in university accommodation, Blackfriars or Havana House, or just anywhere in the city center, you'll get access to so many different cafes. But around campus also, the campus is really beautiful. If you're okay with the cold, you can just sit on one of the benches right outside, right next to the cloisters, and that's a pretty friendly place to write in, I think. I just feel very cold, so I haven't tried that yet, but I've always wanted to.
Shida, you're not going to like my answer because I feel like I'm like, there's so many amazing outdoor places in Glasgow as well, especially today. We're getting very spoiled here. I know not every people are joining us from all over the world, but we're getting a bright blue sky day in Glasgow today. So I mean, I think for me, like, there has been so much creative inspiration that has come from the city of Glasgow itself. There's so much art and history, and there's a lot of opportunity for museums. There's a lot of opportunity to be out in nature in a lot of spaces that have become very creatively inspiring. So I live in a part of the city called Kelvindale. It's right near the River Kelvin, which feeds into the River Clyde. I think the accessibility of nature here in Glasgow is so easy to get to. We're right around the campus is beautiful in the West End as well. But there's so much history and culture with the city, with shipbuilding and with the rivers and with nature. So there's a lot of kind of spots you can also find there that are very welcoming to writers.
So just to chime in with one little point, sorry, Dan, just one little point. Yeah, so I have found that I have not come to Glasgow just for the university. It also represents a lot of freedom for me. So if you're coming here to do a degree in writing, then definitely it's not just a university. The whole city can be very inspiring. The whole of Scotland can be very inspiring, and the freedom that you have here, in a lot of places you won't have that kind of freedom back home, so that will encourage you to just sit and write and just get started. Yeah, Dan, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, completely echo what everyone said in terms of the bustling cafe cultures throughout the city, and also like the beauty of the city itself. Like, I love the Scottish baronial architecture, the river, there's plenty of green spots. I'd also like to say, sort of building off that point, Ipshita, that because there's so many cultural things to do with the city itself, there's a lot of bookstores, there's a lot of writing workshops organized by different people. There's lots of reasons to engage with writing and sit among writers outside of just like the library and things, which are also great and help with a deadline. So yeah, there's, depending on the kind of person you are, there's plenty of like ways to write in solitude or amongst community, or yeah, there's many options in Glasgow.
Thank you all so much. I've definitely got a lot of tips from those answers too. I'm conscious that the list of questions we have is getting bigger, not smaller. So I'm going to try and rattle through some of these questions. How are people allocated to seminar groups or smaller study groups? So in most cases, so in workshops, you're allocated to a workshop group. It's very possible to move if the timing doesn't. In fact, you can select a time. You wouldn't know who was leading that workshop group, or obviously who other students are in the workshop group, but you can select a time. You will kind of be given options for what that time is, and you can select it. For craft and experimentation, we do try to send around reading lists over the summer so that you would be able to see who's teaching what class and enroll in that one. I would say that sometimes things do change right up until the last minute, so maybe don't go and buy all of the books for the reading list just in case there's you can't get into that group. All of the reading, it will be done in such a way that you can read kind of as you go along in the course, but it would give you an idea of who's teaching what class. What is the typical weekly structure of the part-time version of the course? That's also an easy one for me to answer. So in the first year, you take Craft and Experimentation 1 in the first semester, Craft and Experimentation 2 in the second semester, and in semester 1, you also take a workshop. So that actually means that in semester 1, you have 4 hours of classes, and then in semester 2, you have 2 hours of classes, but you also have tutorials, which is one-to-one discussions with a tutor. And then in year 2, you take in semester 1, editing and publication 1, and then in semester 2, you take editing and publication 2 and workshop 2. So again, it's split so that you have 2 hours of classes one semester and 4 hours the other semester, which obviously works out as 3 in total. We do try to ensure that there are classes from 5 till 7. It's not something that we can absolutely guarantee, but we've had some amazing people take the course on a part-time basis that wouldn't have been able to do it with daytime classes that have gone on to do amazing work. And, you know, we totally understand that a lot of writers have other jobs, other careers, and it's something that we do take seriously. So we do try to make sure that there are classes from 5 till 7 to allow people to work. Which leads on to the next question, which is about whether it's possible for very dedicated students to keep up while working a full-time job, and in terms of seminar time. So hopefully the seminar times one I've kind of answered there. We do try to have options for classes that are in the evening from 5 till 7. So depending on work commitments, like 5 to 7 is, we wouldn't have classes later than that. I would say it would be extremely challenging to work a 40-hour full-time job and do the course full-time. I would say if you were planning on keeping a full-time job, the best thing to do would be to do the course part-time. And I would say it would still be challenging to do a full-time job 40 hours and the course part-time, but it would definitely be possible. My background is in healthcare. Generally speaking, do people come onto this program without a degree in English literature? People come with all sorts of different backgrounds. So yes, a lot of people have studied English literature or creative writing or other related arts disciplines before, but we absolutely have had people from all different backgrounds, all different degrees, and also sometimes without a prior degree. We accept based on portfolios, so it's possible to get a place on the course without having an undergraduate degree if the quality of the writing sample is good enough. And that's something that we really value and kind of like take seriously as well, is to make sure that it is open to all writers. And then, would you recommend students already having a vague idea of the genre or specific work they want to pursue throughout the degree before applying? This is one that I'll open up to the group. Did you know what you wanted to write? Do you think it's a good plan to have an idea before you start, or do you think it's okay to just arrive and see what happens when you get here?
I can maybe start with this one because I know this was one of the biggest surprises for me coming to the program. Is I had in mind, so I came out of the workforce. So similarly, you know, I had no background in English literature and creative writing. I had been working in finance for 10 years and kind of decided, you know what, I want to go give my brain some space to work on this novel idea that I've had for a couple of years. And I thought that was all I was going to be writing. I thought everything I would be doing in the course would be kind of in service to advancing that novel project. And then when I actually got here, I thought, well, you know what, like, this is really cool. This is a new form I've never seen before. This is something to experiment with. Let me go try that. And I think having an idea of projects that you want to work towards. So now I'm in my second term. I am picking that novel project up, but I'm picking up in a place that is so different from what I originally came in with, because everything that I got exposed to in the first semester kind of challenged my thinking of how I wanted to approach that. So I do think it's great to have those ideas. And I think as writers, we all naturally have so many different ideas of what we want to work on. But I wouldn't say to come in and pressure yourself or hold yourself to something that you think you want to accomplish kind of with that main project that you came in, because you're going to get exposed to so much creative influence that you're likely going to want to give yourself that space to kind of really play with. But I don't know, Zobia, Dan, Ipshita.
No,
I think
would
it's yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'd say it's not absolutely necessary to come with an idea that you've had for a while or anything. But if you do, then you'll probably still end up changing it completely, because you're going to show it to your peers, you're going to show it to your professors, you're going to be influenced by so many books that you're going to read for the course. So there's this story that I've been working on for the last 2 years, and it's completely different from how I started it. The essence of it is the same, but the way that I wrote it has changed completely. And that a lot of literary influences contributed to that. A lot of feedback from peers and professors contributed to that. But then there are a lot of works that I developed while I was here in the course, and I'm still continuing to develop them. And it's not really something that I've had for a long time, but as I'm going along with the course, as I'm going along with all the readings, there are many different kinds of inspiration that I'm finding. Even something that somebody mentions in a casual conversation can be inspiring, so you don't have to have everything set. There are many influences that will contribute to your writing, but then if you have something, feel free to edit that. You'll probably end up changing it completely, or you might not, depends. Yeah.
I would really agree. I came into the course thinking I was going to write this collection of short stories. I had like this almost rigid idea of what I was going to do. And then I got here and I just like allowed myself to experience, experiment, and like actually engage with the texts that were being set and what was being asked of me. And I think kind of like echoing what's been said before, like just like the experiences I've had across the city, like what I've seen, like my everyday lived experiences. Like I tend to write because I feel like I have to write, like there's something I need to say. And I think just like being in Glasgow, like you're open to so many opportunities and so many things happening, like that within itself has functioned as creative inspiration. And I've like the course has kind of almost given me tools or forms with which I can explore those experiences and put them into. And like I've said this, I said earlier on, but I think that's just really helped me kind of figure out what it is that I really want to say and like just be like honest and like with my voice. I think honesty is what really connects with people, like connects you with your reader. So yeah.
Yeah. I also think being like committed to a project and wanting to see it through is a great thing. And I think that being open to learning about other things and being sensitive to the kind of like inspirations around you from the other writers will probably only enhance that. I found that I came in, I'm like, I have this poetry pamphlet in mind, I'm going to work on it. And the more I've experimented with other things, have learned from other pockets, every time I come back to that poetry pamphlet, I come back with a sharper skill set, a more varied understanding of like what I'm capable of doing with it. So like I think they feed into each other. I think that having an idea that you're focusing on it's not a distraction to go and experiment with other things. As I think openness is a great asset, whether you have an idea in mind or whether you don't, and both of those are very okay.
Yeah. As a writer, every experience you have will feed into your writing. So just be open, observe everything. And sometimes you'll end up observing even when you think you're not observing, and that will show in your writing. So it's totally okay not to come with anything or to come with a lot of things prepared. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much from a perspective that you can like, and like, so I just want to finish by saying that like even like I feel like the other half of writing is listening and like being present, and just like I feel like just being present here, like you'll pick up on so much. So like if you come in with an idea of what you want to do and some themes like that you want to focus on, I feel like you can refine that. But also if you come in with nothing, I think if you just allow yourself to be present in the experience whilst you're here, like inspiration will kind of come to you.
Fantastic. Thank you all. So I'll rattle through some more questions. Regarding the distance learning option, would you say that there's ever times when you absolutely must be on campus? And no, absolutely not. So for the distance learning option, you do not need to attend campus for anything. If you don't want to, you're very welcome to for things, but you don't have to. Close contact with peers outside of seminars, and how does that work online distance learning? So yes, I would say definitely for campus, you know, that there's as the students have articulated so clearly, there's loads of opportunities. Glasgow is such a literary city that here in Glasgow, if you're a campus student, there's, you know, lots and lots of opportunities to really immerse yourself in the kind of literary culture of the city. There's lots of open mics, there's lots of readings. We have lots of events, like often 2 times a week there's a kind of event going on that's run from the course. There's always one and then sometimes 2. So yes, but for online distance learning, yeah, as I said, the distance learning group also often have coffee mornings, like where they just all attend on a Zoom or a Teams call and kind of chat. They're also in touch on, you know, like kind of group WhatsApps and that kind of thing. So yeah, they're a really close cohort. There's also student organized. There have been various little residencies and things like that. So sometimes the distance learning students have arranged to come to Glasgow with some help from us. In terms of like making sure that there's rooms available for them to meet in and things like that. And yeah, that's really good. How many times do students interact with literary agents in the course? So we normally try to make sure that there's a couple of agents come for editing and publication. And then we also have, it might be worth mentioning here that we have a literary prize called the North Literary Agency Prize. And that's a literary prize run by the North Literary Agency, but just for Glasgow University creative writing students. So we're going to have an event very soon, which will be the launch of this year's one. So all of you on the call just now, Zobia, Daniel, Cassian, and Ipsa should apply for this. And we've had it running for the last few years. And basically, the prize is a cash prize, but the agent usually makes an offer, or frequently makes an offer to the winner of that. So we had the prize giving in November, I think, for last year's, and then yeah, we're hoping to keep that going. So that's that. Do students make an anthology on the course, and does that anthology get sent out to agents and publishers? So we don't have a formal, so because we have the direct link through the North Literary Agency prize, and because we believe that so we equip students in editing and publication with all the tools for them to approach agents directly. We don't send out a kind of showcase anthology to literary agencies. We believe that it is much, much better that we equip students with the kind of individual skills to go and to do that for themselves. And that is kind of proven to like be really successful. So many of our students do go on and publish really successfully. So yeah, we don't do an anthology every year. Sometimes students do organize an anthology, and actually Cassie has been involved in an amazing anthology project, which was part of the celebrations for the 30 years of the program. But that's really like student run initiatives usually. Is there a place within the course for children's writers, anything middle grade or young adult? Yes, absolutely. So you can write children's writing, YA, middle grade. You can submit that for any of your assessments. So there's no issue with that at all, and you will be given support in that. And you know, we do have people write YA regularly on the course. We also have a dedicated children's literature course, which is co-run with Deakin University in Australia, and it's offered as an alternative to editing and publication. And that is an online course, but students can do it from, if they're campus enrolled students, it's just taught online because it's taught via the university in Australia. And students really love that course. They get a lot out of it. It's like a specialist children's writing course, and it's something that we don't usually teach. We have a colleague of mine has written for children before, but we don't have any specialist courses apart from that one that we co-run with Deakin University. Do you feel verbal articulation skills have weight on the overall assessment? So I would say, I hope today has been a very good demonstration of the verbal articulation skills of our cohort. I definitely feel like it has. But I think this is a really good point. There are some assessments that I think there's only one assessment actually across the whole program, which is on an optional course where you are assessed for kind of seminar contribution. That's something that we don't do a lot of because for exactly the reason that you indicate in your comment there. So no, I would say the vast majority of the course is assessed on written articulation. So yeah. This is one that I'm going to hand over a little bit. So how do you get past the anxiety of sharing work in workshops? In my undergraduate course, when we shared creative work, it was often anonymous. So this would be a change. And Haley says they're nervous and excited. So did you do you have any perspectives on anxiety in workshops? And maybe keep it a little bit brief just because I'm conscious of time and still 9 questions to get through.
Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, I have been very anxious while submitting my work for workshop, and I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends who have been anxious like that. So yeah, basically what you do is just you sit yourself down with a cup of coffee, you finish writing it, you stop that voice in your head that keeps telling you that this is not good enough, this is not good enough, because I've been so concerned about the work that I've submitted, about whether people like it or not. But people tend to be so receptive and so nice about your work, you know. Even if they're asking you to change something, they will tell it to you in a very kind way. The people are very kind in the workshop. All the professors I've had, all the peers that I've had, nobody will be like, no, I don't like your story. No, I don't like your poem. Nobody ever says anything like that. They're like, these things work, these things could do with a bit of change. So the anxiety that comes is mostly from the fear of people not liking your work, but most of the time people do end up liking your work because the effort that you put in shows in the work, you know. So yeah, you just, after a point, you just have to trust people a bit, you know, and just trust your professors, trust your peers, and that will help with the anxiety in a way, because that will be your community of writers. That will be a support system in a way. Yeah.
The workshop tutors very much do set the tone with the workshops are for constructive criticism, and I feel like that tone is maintained by those students who all want to receive the same level of respect, so they're giving it, and we're all in this together. Like, we're submitting it because we want feedback on it, which means we don't think it's necessarily perfect to like in a uncritiquable way. So I think because we're all in the same boat, we're all like very empathetic to each other.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd say definitely also, I think a huge portion of workshop is getting to know the intentions of your peers, right? So like, I think to Ipshita's point, we're not showing up to say, hey, you know, I'm going to tear all these pieces apart, or it's not just about copy edits and line edits. It's really about, we all kind of spend the time to get to know your little workshop group. You get to know you know, what everyone's intending to do and what they want from their writing and who they think their audience is. And so the feedback that your peers give is very much kind of helping you to achieve what your intentions are.
Yeah. So whilst I agree with what everyone's saying, I do think like we are human and we make mistakes. And sometimes I think like things do come up in workshop that are like potentially problematic or uncomfortable to deal with. If I'm honest, that's just how life is. I think what I found comforting about Glasgow is that I feel like I can actually go to my professors and talk to them about these issues. And I think that like, even if mistakes are made, the support is there. And that like, that's what kind of sets Glasgow apart for me. I've been in I've attended academic institutions before where I haven't felt safe in the classroom, or like I haven't felt comfortable, and I haven't had the support and at all. Whereas like, I do feel pretty safe at Glasgow. So yeah.
This is a community of professional writers who are really serious about writing, and it's just really easy to approach the professors and talk to your peers because everybody's kind. Like, I have not met a single unkind person here.
I know we're kind of losing Colin. We lost Colin and we've only got a couple minutes here, but maybe really quickly, maybe just for us. Oh, Colin, are you back?
Yeah.
Do we have you? Maybe not.
We just question.
Maybe not. Anyone want to like end with a last, you know, maybe like something that you were most surprised by the course? I know
I think we are pretty much out of time. So what I'm going to do.
Oh, there we go. We got Colin.
You tried.
We tried. I was like, oh, we got like 4 more minutes. See what we've got here. Otherwise, we can probably wrap early.
Yeah. He's like coming and going.
I don't know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, and sorry about the technical difficulties we've had today. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No. We lost you again.
I was most surprised by like just how much I've been able to grow on this course and how much confidence I've been able to gain. I think that I came into it a very anxious person with an idea of what I was capable of, and I've exceeded those like ideas. If anyone else wants to.
Oh my God, I used to be so afraid of speaking in class because I always thought I sounded dumb, and like genuinely, like the professors here have like encouraged me like to believe in myself and to be confident and to take up space so much that like in like verbally taking up space, my writing is completely transformed. So I recommend it.
I wouldn't say I was surprised exactly, but I really like how nurturing this environment is because everybody is so kind. I just have to keep reiterating that, I think. And the place where I'm from, there people are not necessarily always encouraging about you voicing your opinions or just helping you out with things, but people have been so nice here. They, in all possible ways, they will help you out. They will not withhold information because they don't want you to get better or anything. Everybody's just there to help. If you ask somebody how to go get to a literary agent, they will share that email address, they will share the contact details, and they will share internship opportunities, everything that you need. So yeah, people are helpful, and that's lovely. Glasgow's just full of helpful people. It's not just the Scottish people, it's also internationals. Everybody is just so lovely.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly say and then hand it off to you, Sia, to take us home here. I think one of the biggest things for me coming into this program was just how much flexibility there is in it when you get here. Like, this truly is something that will be an experience that you make it. So depending on what you get out of it, depending on what you want to get out of it, is really kind of how you can help kind of drive and change. And I think, as everyone here has kind of showed today, like, there's so much, again, kind of collaboration and creative inspiration, and there's so much support that you get from the university as a whole. So if you're thinking about the program, any of us, where you can always kind of reach out to us and find us online on Instagrams. U of G Writing has a lot of connection to the things that Colin was mentioning as well. And I'm sure, Sia, you'll have much more to give folks.
Thanks very much, everyone. So yeah, first of all, thank you so much to everyone watching for bearing with our technical issues. We really appreciate it. And thank you to Colin and our fantastic students for representing creative writing. I definitely have degree envy sitting and listening to you all, but this is not the forum for me. If you all look in the chat, you can see that my helpful assistant has been putting some links and email addresses in there for you. So as Cassie was saying, you can follow U of G Writing on Instagram. We've got a link in there for you. And I know we've not managed to get to everybody's questions. Thank you all so much for so many amazing and thoughtful questions. There is an email in the chat for you all, so please do feel free to forward any questions that you have, anything that we didn't get to, and we will make sure that Colin and the creative writing team are able to respond to them for you. So all that leaves me to say is thank you all again so much for watching, and thank you again to our students, and hopefully we will see you all in September. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.